anymore. I have enough time to read my books and I still have time to do the rest of my chores. I love chemistry so much. It's my favorite subject. And now I have a bike to get to school. I can be a nurse one day.
Change begins with a bike. Begin this journey as a regular giver. See the cycle of poverty broken for £6 a month.
What's up? My name is Jonah and I've just completed a BA in Theology at Cliff College. Whilst at Cliff College, the main thing that I have found beneficial to me is the Mission Placement Unit. Now this is a unit that allows you to do mission alongside your studying. This was vital for me as I love getting out and being hands-on and being practical and doing what I love doing, which is mission. The kind of mission that I've been involved in has included a whole range of stuff, from doing local church mission to national mission to international mission, which is amazing. And all these opportunities have come from Cliff College. I've had the opportunity to lead a youth club for 2 years, which is an amazing opportunity for me, who was quite young at the time, but I learnt loads and it grew me in my leadership skills, and what I was practically learning on the course was being implemented into what I was doing. I've done national youth ministry through New Wine, doing stuff with them. And again, what I've learned on the course theoretically has gone into what I've been doing there. And then I've had opportunities with Cliff College to go abroad. I've been to Zimbabwe and Zambia to see what they're doing and see how the church works out there. And I've also had the opportunity last year to go to India to see what they've been doing with their young people, which is an amazing opportunity. I had the opportunity to speak and do like little testimony times with youth over there and children in orphanages and people in just crazy conditions compared to me. So it was a great opportunity to go out there and see what they've been doing. Cool. I hope that helps. Definitely come to Cliff College. It's great.
Hello everybody, my name's Tim and this is my lovely 2-year-old daughter Martha, who's one of the 2 people I've been doing lockdown with in the last few weeks. Oh, are you waving to everybody? Good waving. And what we want to share with you today, me and my colleague Matt will be reflecting a little bit on what lockdown has been like for us, what it's like being the dads of young girls during lockdown. But we also really want to hear your stories too. We want to hear your stories family life during this strange period of national lockdown and global pandemic. So please do get in touch with us. Please share your stories with us. We want to be encouraged by those stories, challenged by those stories. We want to lament together if it's been really hard. We want to hold that experience, but we also want to build in some hope and reflect on how we can begin to build back towards a new and better world, perhaps on the other side of coronavirus, because we are a people of hope, a people of resurrection. I work for All We Can, and in my 5 years working for that brilliant organisation, we've seen so much change happen around the world, so many people's lives transformed.
Dad,
Yes.
green.
It's a green one, isn't it? Do you want an orange one?
That green.
And I've met lots of amazing people in that time, lots of amazing families who will also have had a really challenging experience in the last few weeks, and many of them have got a challenging experience still to come as coronavirus begins to spread around different parts of the world. In particular, I've thought often of some amazing families that I met in Uganda who've also been through a lockdown not so dissimilar to ours. And so what we want to do as part of this seminar is hold together that whole world story of coronavirus. It's very easy for coronavirus to make us think small, think about, oh, a lovely song, to think about our small world, our little self-isolating community, but it's important to... You can join in at home if you know this one. World so high. Yeah, exactly. Yay! And so we've been thinking about those families around the world, and particularly those families in Uganda. I went to a little community called Butagaya just a few months ago and met some incredible families who have been surviving lockdown in the last few weeks, but who have huge challenges that they face anyway. Challenges of poverty, challenges of access to education and healthcare, and opportunities to improve their lives. And in those places, we've already seen change begin to happen. We've already seen hope coming alive. And so this next little video...
Dad, my bit long.
Yeah.
My bit yawn.
A big yawn. Yes, you did do a big yawn. In this next little video, we're just going to meet some of those people and hear their story. Let's go to Butagaya now and see how change begins with a bike. Shall we say bye?
Bye.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Nice kisses.
Bye.
Let's go to Butagaya.
Our biggest challenge is we take care of my elderly mother and 7 grandchildren. It costs a lot and our income is very small.
I really want to go to school, but it's a long way, and I have a lot of chores to do first.
Life has been very hard because I'm a differently abled person and I am struggling to support my family.
It's not what I want to do, but I have to make bricks to help my family.
For families like these, change begins with a bike. Change begins with your regular support. For Moses' son Ariel, having a bike means freedom.
Now I can get to school and not make bricks all the time.
For Moses, it means now he can earn some money.
My bicycle repair business will grow and I'll be able to feed my family.
For Florence and David's extended family, it means an additional income.
The bike makes it easier for our grandson Andrew to sell his fish at market and get to school.
And for Nawalat, it means the future she's always dreamed of.
I use my bike to get to school so I can be a nurse one day.
Change begins with a bike. Begin this journey as a regular giver. See the cycle of poverty broken for £6 a month.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Really nice to have you here live from Cliff Festival. At home, it's really good to have you gathering with us online. Thank you for joining me for our seminar this afternoon. This seminar is entitled Lockdown, Faith, Hope and Family Life. And my name's Tim Baker. I'm the Churches and Volunteers Manager at All We Can, where I've been working for the last 5 years as part of a team that's trying to tackle poverty around the world, that's trying to work on behalf of the church to say, how can we see long-term change in some of the world's poorest communities? But for much of that time too, I've had a young family. You've just met my young daughter, Martha, who's just 2.5 and has lots of character, lots of energy. She likes a big yawn and likes to let Daddy know when he's going on too long. So presumably if you're watching now, Martha, there'll be plenty of yawning this afternoon. But what we wanted to do in this session this afternoon is just kind of bring those two worlds together a little bit. Reflect on how lockdown has been for you in whatever your context is. Reflect on the effect that's had on family life, and then make that connection with a world that's actually gone through lockdown and is going through coronavirus right now. I've thought often in the last few days and weeks and months, as it's now turning into, of some of those amazing families who I've met and how they must be finding this really challenging lockdown in contexts that are already difficult as it is. I've got here in front of me the Facebook stream of this seminar, so I can see your comments as they're coming in. Please do engage with this seminar. We really want this to be interactive. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what lockdown's been like for you. We want you to have the chance to just share a little bit about how your family perhaps has engaged with lockdown, and just tell us a little bit about where you found hope, how your faith journey has been through this time. It's been a really challenging time for many of us, hasn't it? And we'll tell some of those challenging stories, but we'll also tell some stories from around the world and show perhaps the context of lockdown that we live through here. So thank you to all of you joining us online. I can see many of you tuning in already. And what we've talked about a lot in the All We Can team over the last few weeks, particularly as we've tried to do work and family life and childcare, is how we balance that, how we balance the things that matter to us most in the world. And that's one of the things I want us to reflect on today, is for all of us, there's a balancing act, isn't there? Because we know about poverty and injustice. We know that the world isn't fair, and yet there are needs around us too. And there are things in our communities and our churches and our families and our lives that take up our attention. And perhaps when you work for a development agency and also have a 2-year-old at home, you see that balancing act most clearly. One of my colleagues, my good friend Matt, who's also in the churches team, he's our Churches and Volunteers Officer, is going to join me via the means of technology this afternoon. Afternoon, Matt, how are you doing?
Good afternoon from sunny Peterborough. It's good to be with you here at Festival at Home. You doing well?
Absolutely, yes. Really good, thank you. Good to connect from Derbyshire to Peterborough and back. Matt, just tell us a little bit about your family life, your context there in Peterborough. I think you might be on childcare duty just at the moment. So just share with us a little bit about what your lockdown environment is.
Yeah, lockdown environment for me is like yourself, Tim, married to someone who's classed as a key worker. So my wife is already, she's at work at the moment. She works for the NHS. And so she's been balancing her work, doing evening shifts, weekends often, whilst I've been doing on my own role as well for all we can. And then we've got 2 daughters. It's all female household, so pray for me in the comment section if you can. But I've got Olivia, who's age 6, and Amelia, age 3. They both had birthdays during lockdown. And then we've also got a dog that you might hear bark from time to time if someone walks past our house, who's a 2-year-old cockapoo. So life is full, life is busy in our house, and you're going to hear a little bit of noises, no doubt, and they might come in and out of shot. But, you know, we have begun to just, I think, enjoy I say enjoy, definitely enjoy, but also just embrace the madness, I think. And so for the next 8 to 12 minutes as we talk, I'm sure we're going to see some of that, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to have some fun with it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and I'm sure many of you will be hoping we might get a glimpse of the cockapoo. Copper's very cute, as are your girls, by the way. But right. Yes, so just tell us a little bit about what lockdown has been like for you. Tell us about the last few weeks. Tell us how the embracing madness has gone in the Forsyth household.
Yeah, I think for many of us, you kind of go through kind of like what I would describe as many people that kind of go through a stage of mourning when it comes to lockdown. You know, you kind of have the denial stage, whereby I think we kind of had that very at the beginning of lockdown. We were kind of in denial of everything that was going on around us, that all of a sudden we had to homeschool, and we had to then, adapt to having 2 children at home all the time again, and then me also working and my wife. But I think when we quickly got past the denial stage, when we kind of went into the path from denial all the way to the other side, which was kind of overworking it, which was to the point of, I'm looking right now at the schedule that we set up for our daughter for homeschool, and then we had like a little snack shop list that she has, that, you know, she could pay money every day for different snacks if she wanted to. And quite frankly, if I'm honest, that lasted 2 weeks, because we kind of overdid it, because we kind of almost the social pressure, I think, as well, a lot of it is to do with. And so actually, I think we began to, embrace the new rhythms. I think by week 3, we began to kind of embrace what the new rhythm was like, the new world for us was in our own little bubble almost. And I think, there's a scripture which I've kind of sought a lot of strength from in the last few weeks in particular, which is from Lamentations. It's one that I'm sure those of us watching will know it well, but it says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And for me, that's just been like a constant reminder. And I've needed that reminder, because some days have been really tough. Some days have been lots of tears, lots of shouting probably, and lots of hardship. And actually, as we've kind of started to switch off from the almost impossible social media parents that sometimes we can see, especially those who live in celebrity culture, etc., as we've kind of begun to switch off from them and think, actually, no, we don't have to do a workout before the kids get up. No, we don't have to do, nothing wrong with that, but that's not our lifestyle. That's not how we've been able to operate, and actually we've just found our own rhythm and actually our own new mercies, really. So if the kids sometimes don't feel like, getting out their pajamas to a certain time, then we've just kind of rolled with it, and or whatever it might have been, and actually just trying to learn what those new mercies are, and I think intentionally find them. And just one last thing, and it was actually something I heard from a speaker just before lockdown in regards to children that have autism, and I do want to just make a little attention to those that who have children with special needs, and also who have also had to adapt in this situation. And actually, something that this minister said, who has a child who has autism, so actually what they learn as parents is that they would celebrate the little wins every single day. That if their child did something, they would celebrate it. And actually, for us, we've been trying to do that during lockdown. Actually, we've been celebrating the little wins, but which maybe came easier before lockdown, but during lockdown, it's maybe a little bit more difficult. So we've been trying to celebrate the little wins and the little moments of joy a little bit more than we probably were doing prior to lockdown, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Thank you, Matt. And I think that spirit of sort of rolling with it, I think, is perhaps how many of us have got through. I really like that as an image. And I think one of the things that you highlight there is that sort of pressure that we feel to live the perfect life, to raise the standard. So if you felt that pressure over lockdown, then Matt and I are giving you permission to not. It's okay.
100%.
Roll with the pajamas and maybe a little bit more TV than was acceptable before, and maybe a few too many sweeties. But all of that because actually for us, lockdown will have a limited period of time, won't it? We know there's coming a moment. We're still waiting on the science and the politicians to work out exactly when the moment is. There's going to come a moment when we begin to return to something a bit more normal. Maybe our world will never be quite the same again, but we'll begin to phase out of this. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and which Tim Raby flags up in the comments, thank you, Tim, is that for many people living in some of the world's poorest communities, lockdown is basically forever. Lockdown is their existence. They don't have the means of transport that you and I take for granted. They don't have the ways of connecting up online. They don't have access to all of the markets and schools and opportunities that sit on our doorstep and which we perhaps take for granted every day. So as we reflect about that and reflect about those places, Matt, I just wonder if you'd like to share any of the stories you've had from your time at All We Can. Have you met communities who you've been particularly thinking of, perhaps individuals who are drawn to mind at the moment? Yeah,
that's a really good question. And I think for me, two things really strike me. Number one is those that are in refugee camps that All We Can are working in and working with our partners in Cox's Bazar and Zatari, and thinking of, you're Zoom, you're chatting to me right now, and I've got my garden in the background. That space, which is, for our kids that they can go out and play in, but there is just that you don't get that luxury, that kind of space in a refugee camp. There would be many a household that would be cramped into that sort of space, and so I automatically think of them. But I also think of a family I met about a year and a bit ago now, but of Erge and his family and his girls, and an amazing family, but actually the reality of what the whole situation, pandemic, what's going on right now would mean for them long term in their livelihoods, it's just immense, because actually you just can't fathom some of the restrictions that would take place for their lives, but for the long term, actually what that would mean to their livelihoods and their income and actually their own well-being too. I think that's something that we've seen across this nation, is that we've focused and rightly so about what it means to be in lockdown for our well-being, both spiritually and mentally. But those people that we speak about, when it comes to All We Can, who we're working with, they have the same mental well-being and spiritual well-being that we also need to attend to and to be supporting. And actually, lockdown means for them, it's not just going to be a temporary thing. It's going to be something that's going to be long term. And you think about the ramifications of vaccines and other things. Actually, it puts things into perspective for us, I think, as parents at the moment in particular. For those that I've met in particular in Ethiopia, and I know for you in Uganda too. So that's what brings to my mind those two separate communities that I've just mentioned.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Matt. That's helpful, I think. And certainly that refugee experience has really been brought home to me in a number of conversations I've had over the last few weeks, thinking about how much space I get to enjoy lockdown on, whereas a refugee camp is not much more than a few square feet either side of me. And you mentioned Uganda as well. We've been talking a little bit already today at Festival at Home, and if you've joined any of our other sessions, you may have heard mention of bicycles and the really important work that's going on in Uganda. I've thought a lot about the communities I met just a few months ago before lockdown, and seeing the challenge that they live with during lockdown period has really brought home to us how important the bicycle is. Actually, the communities of rural Uganda are so spread out, access to education, access to a marketplace is really hard. And so transport is really important. And at the moment, the public transport system doesn't exist at all. And so regularly sanitized bicycles are being used to equip people to get to market, to be able to sell their little bit of produce, to be able to get to essential healthcare. We had the lovely story just a few days ago, didn't we, of the woman who was heavily pregnant and having a difficult pregnancy, and then being taken on the back of a bike to a hospital because the bike was available, and that making a real difference in her life. And she sent us a little video of a happy, smiling, healthy baby. So new life is possible on lockdown too.
Definitely.
But what about your stories? Keep sharing your reflections with us online. Roxanne talking about how lockdown has been strange. She lives in Wales but has family in England, and there's now a difference in what she can do and what the rest of the people she knows really well can do. Really helpful to have a reflection from Ruth about working with people with learning difficulties during lockdown. Really hard to explain the concept of lockdown, and Sarah too, talking about huge and dramatic life changes, but in this she's known God's presence, God's peace, and God's love. And bless you, and thank you for sharing that with us, Sarah.
Olivia wants to say hello.
Oh, hello, Olivia. She's come to join us. How are you doing?
Oh, she can't hear you.
Yes.
Put that there. No,
lovely to have Olivia
said hello.
Waving to us there. That was nice.
She's off. She's gone.
And such is the distracted nature of family life on lockdown.
You should see right next to me, Tim. I've got a pack of what you don't often see many. If you're on different Zoom calls, if you're working, I love how Tim, when he's working, you see a projector of different animations when he's with Martha. And also, if I'll let you into my secret today. What I've got next to me is I've got lots of you can do other variety of packs of biscuits if you choose, but I do choose to have a stack of biscuits next to me whenever I'm on a call for my children's sake, and also healthier alternatives, I do have to say. But I have to say that's my top tip. If you ever, those of you that are working parents that are watching this, do keep a packet of biscuits, because look, just like right now, like a biscuit. There we go. See, it works a treat. Timing is perfect. Sorry, Tim.
Manners.
Carry on. I got
lovely
distracted.
Manners as well, Olivia. Thank you for that. Yes, so lots of biscuits. You're making me hungry just thinking about it. Oh, she's back.
Oh, no, this is immediately. Everyone's coming now. So, you carry on. I'll mute myself.
Say hi. Hello, Amelia. And what would be lovely now to just bring in the third and final member of our little churches team at All We Can. Really pleased to also have Sheila Matthews with us on the call. And here's Sheila. Good.
Hi, everyone.
Afternoon to you. Hello, Sheila. How are you doing?
Sheila.
I heard mention of snacks, so I arrived. Standard practice.
Just waiting for the biscuits. And Sheila is here to join us for biscuits and chat. And I'm really feeling like I should have some biscuits here. But Sheila is the Public Engagement Officer at All We Can and part of the churches team. Sheila, you've also got young family. You've also done the whole juggling act of lockdown life and childcare and work and being married to Anglican vicar. So just tell us a little bit about your experience of lockdown. Just share with us.
Yeah, so I think probably the best thing I heard described was it as a corona coaster. And I would say that is, that's been my experience. It was definitely a shock to the system. And I'm not one of those people who embraces change. I love those people who do, but I'm not brilliant at it. So it was definitely like a real challenge to emotionally engage with as well, which, as you both know, There's been a lot of tears in our household, mainly from me, but also adapting. I had a 4-year-old at the beginning of shutdown. I now have a 5-year-old. It's the same child, but having important moments in shutdown, and how do you do that, and how do you help them understand that? And then being on the front line of watching a vicar learn to do a YouTube premiere or a Zoom service, and like when the church broke Zoom was quite a monumental moment. So that's been we do a lot of just quickly handing over childcare responsibility, and lots of like quick catch-ups, and having to work out like, how are you, real shorthand at being able to tell each other where you're at on that day. I think imagine a lot of people in the same position. It's just it's new, it's different, and it's a challenge. It's like,
yeah, absolutely, and we have to kind of embrace it in our own way and be real with each other, I think, in that. And thank you, Sheila, for always helping our little team to be real with each other and to pray together. You've also, Sheila, contributed something really helpful that I've had great feedback from lots of people over the last few weeks. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about the at-home resources that you developed during lockdown?
Yeah. So At Home is a resource that we created for anyone who is at home with a family or not even, because it's creative. So even if you don't have children, you can still do the creative activities. And it was really just to acknowledge that we understand the challenge of being at home, and that it isn't straightforward, it isn't easy. And the schools have been amazing at providing brilliant stuff. And what we thought is we could add a creative element and a prayerful element, because I don't know about you guys, like praying as a family in my head is really easy, and it doesn't always happen that way. So the thing I'm most proud of in At Home is our like family prayer ideas, really, of ways to link some of our projects as well. My favorite prayer, I'm going to put this in, my favorite prayer is in our At Home 3 resource, and it is based on the story of Eria, where you see him making those bricks, and it's a wall of bricks, of prayer bricks. And that's the thing that my little boy has loved actually doing. And the other day he went and got a brick and he wrote Dad on it, and I was like, anything else to add? And the answer was no. And he's put his brick up on the wall. Yeah, but it's just a chance to acknowledge that, it is hard, but there are lots of ways that we can engage globally as well with the stories that All We Can are sharing, and in a creative way. So I hope it's been helpful.
Brilliant. Well, certainly lots of people have told me it is, and we've had some fun in our house as well doing those prayer activities. Really important that we find ways to keep being church. Just for the last minute or so that we've got together, I just want to tell you a little bit about how our Change Begins with a Bike resources will also be available during lockdown. Every year, All We Can produces harvest materials that are really exciting and challenge the church to do new and creative things. This year, we're still not quite sure what Harvest Festival will look like, are we? We're not quite sure where we'll be up to by September. So we've already started putting together some plans for lots of innovative and exciting ways you could do Harvest, perhaps digitally, perhaps using lots of online technology, perhaps just finding ways to connect even when you can't be together. So we're really excited about that, and I know Sheila and Matt are excited about sharing those with you and helping to put those resources together. So do look out for those as they come up in the coming months, and you can visit allwecan.org.uk/cycle, and you can put in an order already, and then as those resources develop, you'll be kept up to date about how those are coming together and how you can make a use of them. But just to close off our seminar, Matt, I wondered if you wouldn't mind just praying for us and praying for all the people who are watching, and just for families everywhere who are doing lockdown and planning for the future.
Yeah, love to. Well, let's just bow our heads, have you like to pray, close your eyes, do a prayer drill. Lord, thank you for our time we've had for the last half an hour, just sharing a little bit about our own story, and as we share a little bit more about how it might be challenging in these times, but also that there is hope and that there is those new mercies that we find each day. And Lord, that we might also be able to provide new mercies and be able to bring opportunity for others as well through the work of All We Can. Just thanks to all those that are watching. Lord, continue to bless them and their families and their households. Give us strength to continue on this day and for the days ahead. So, Lord, be with us now, I pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Matt. I hope you found that helpful. If you've been watching, do keep sharing your stories and reflections in the comments, and get in touch with the All We Can team if you'd like to hear more about any of those stories. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Sheila. We'll see you again soon. God bless.